Well, greetings, everyone. I know I am kind of behind on putting my Elephant in the Room series out, but I have been really good busy. I'm so grateful. I spoke this weekend with some ladies on Girl Talk, and it was really just rewarding to see women come out and support one another. And we did a mirror project, which kind of helped us to reflect on those uncomfortable things that come up for us, right? But nevertheless, hey, this is Elephant in the Room. I'm Belani Leigh Patterson, and today's episode is the Fugazis of life, right? What if it wasn't fake? What if it was just a season? Let's think on that one. But anyway, the Fugazis of life. What if the biggest elephant in the room is this? How do we know what's real? There are people, places, and things that enter our lives, and at first, they seem very permanent. They feel solid, they feel certain, they feel like they're going to be the forever. Forever. But over time, some reveal themselves to be nothing more than Fugazis. They look real, they sounded real, they felt real even. But they couldn't stand the test of time. Or maybe not everything that leaves was actually fake. Maybe some people, places, and seasons are simply meant to teach us something before moving on. And I think that's where discernment really comes in. Because sometimes we're so quick to want to label something as fugazi simply because it didn't last. But duration doesn't determine authenticity. Something can be real and still be temporary. A season can be real. A friendship can be real. Relationships can be real. A job can be real. A career choice. A place can be real. And a chapter can be real and still come to an end. I was just thinking about this while watching The Chi. You know, that's the last season just happened last week. Oh my gosh, it was so good though. And as many of us know, I was born in New York, but raised in Chicago. The culture, the people, the resilience, it still lives inside of me. There was a time when I didn't even want to claim Chicago, The Chi, because of anyone who seemed to talk about it back in the day. It had a lot of negative headlines attached to it, right? So I was like, I don't know if I want to be shouting out that I'm from the south side of Chicago. But Chicago just wasn't a place for me. It holds some of my greatest first. I had my first daughter there, my only daughter. I was married there. I built memories there, some beautiful, some painful, but all of them were part of shaping who I am today. So was Chicago a fugazi? Not necessarily, no. It was real. It was a chapter, though. And every chapter asked the same question. Where did I need to show up for Belani Leigh? Where did I need to show up for myself? And maybe that's the real question we should be asking about the experiences in our lives. Not what was fake, but what did it come to teach me? What is the lesson in all of this? Because life has a way of asking us to try things on, right? Almost like a new pair of shoes. You know, I love me a nice shoe, right? At first, they look good. They feel good. They might even feel comfortable for a time. But then you hit a crack in the sidewalk. You stumble over that crack. The pressure shows up. Life happens. And that's when you discover whether those shoes can actually carry you through the storms of life. And sometimes you discover these shoes can often be repaired. And sometimes you discover that these shoes have actually served their purpose. Oftentimes we realize, baby, these shoes were a fugazi from the beginning. Oh my gosh, like what? They falling apart, things, it just, they ain't right. They don't look good to you no more. And you put them properly in the back of the room, maybe thinking that they'll show up one day and look like when you first bought them. But that's not really realistic. Because not every difficult experience means it's time to throw it away. Sometimes things do need repair. Sometimes we need repair. And sometimes relationships need a conversation. Sometimes friendships need boundaries. And sometimes businesses need restructuring. And even sometimes our careers need a redirection. We simply need to grow up and recognize that the person, place, or thing we once needed is no longer where we're being called to go. That's why discernment matters so much to me. And that's why the question often becomes, is this something that can be repaired through mutual choosing, or is this something I have outgrown? Have I outgrown these pair of shoes that I thought were so fly in the beginning, right? Think about marriage for a second. People often say that when you get married, you have to choose each other every day. This was a line that was quoted on the marriage of Emmett and I don't know why I can't. Keisha. Yeah, Emmett and Keisha, right? People often say that, not just on the easy days. It's calling you to go inward. Because maybe the Most High is trying to get us still enough, just still enough to sit long enough with ourselves. I know it's uncomfortable. I know silence. You want to put distraction and TV and music and radio and all this old type of stuff and, partying and all that and drinking and smoking, whatever it might be. We all use these things as a way to distract ourselves. But we got to sit still long enough for the miracle. We got to sit long enough for the correction, the wisdom, the redirection, the revelation. But when we're so busy in fight and flight mode, fleeing, avoiding, defending, explaining, blaming, and listening to our own ego, that we can't hear it anymore. So what is your spirit saying? That's the question. And I think we need to take that question into every dimension of our lives. What lesson do we need to learn in our social wellness, our emotional, our financial, our environmental, our spiritual awareness, our dimension of every life, of every season? Because sometimes we get so haughty with ourselves. Oh, I got this. Oh, I'm good. I don't need no help in this area. I've mastered this. Oh, do you now? I don't need no help. I've got it. Okay. Well, go with that. Because life has a way of showing us what we think we've mastered. And maybe the experience isn't asking you to determine whether it was a fugazi. Maybe it's asking you, what did you learn? What did this relationship teach you? What did this job teach you? A career? What did the friendship teach you? The disappointment, the financial setback? What moved relocating to another place? What did it teach you? What closed door? What was the closed door that taught you something? What was the season that taught you? Because every dimension of our lives can become a classroom if we allow it. And sometimes the classroom doesn't always look like a classroom. Sometimes it does look like heartbreak, rejection, disappointment, a closed door. Sometimes it looks like you're getting exactly what you thought you wanted, only to discover that it wasn't what you needed. And maybe that's where the old saying comes in. A person's rejection of you is God's protection. Maybe I think we need discernment even there, because perhaps rejection isn't always about the other person. Maybe it is redirection. Because perhaps rejection could teach us something there, right? Because it is protection for something maybe greater that the Most High might have for us later down the line, and we just don't see it right now. Maybe it's timing. Maybe it's growth. We still need to learn some things before getting into that situation with more clearer eyes and a more open heart. Maybe we need to be more transparent with ourselves with things that we need to learn and course correct within ourselves. Not that way, God might be telling you, this way. And sometimes what looks like everything falling apart is actually everything falling together. That's why I don't believe every ending is actually failure. Sometimes an ending is an invitation to choose differently, to think differently, to heal differently, to live differently, and to become a different version of yourself, and hopefully the highest version of yourself as we keep continuing to exist in this plane. And if someone somewhere or something chooses you back every day, man, that is the cherry on top. It's a blessing, right? That's the cherry on top. But until then, continue to choose yourself. Continue to choose healing, peace, growth, discernment. Choose your relationship with the Most High first and foremost, because you're worth choosing. And sometimes the shoes can be repaired, and sometimes they can't. Accept it and move on. And if it's time to take them off, leave them where they are and find a new pair. That's okay too, because every ending creates room for a new beginning. So maybe the real Fugazi isn't always the person, place, or thing we thought was fake. Maybe sometimes the Fugazi is the story we told ourselves about what we thought something had to be. It was real. It did matter. It taught me. And now I'm ready for what's next. This is the elephant in the room, the Fugazis of life. I'm Belani Lay Patterson, and until next time, stay still long enough to listen, discerning enough to know what's real and what's not, courageous enough to repair what can be repaired, and wise enough to release what you've outgrown. And be wise about who you're getting your counsel from. People might mean to have the best intentions, but they're not living your life. Only you can. Get your advice from the Most High Himself. That's the best teacher and the best one that will guide you. Don't forget to choose yourself. Belani Lay Patterson. Until next time, I holla.